this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Reusche for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Feinberg. We have just a little bit of data to share with you this evening that in hindsight would have been good to include last week, but better late than never. And also now that we have last week completed, we're able to provide you with a comprehensive picture of the last 2 weeks. At last week's board meeting and in the communication that we sent out, we indicated that one of the primary reasons we are making the recommendation to move to virtual is due to staffing and the challenges that we are facing with staffing. And at that time, I mentioned that we tend to think of teachers because that's who we are, that's what we do. So we think of them immediately. And while we have staffing challenges among our teaching ranks, and just really even made worse by the fact that there's a substitute shortage, I also noted to you that we have a severe shortage of instructional assistants, those key people who provide so much important support to both students and teachers. This year, we are using instructional assistants if a teacher must quarantine from home and that teacher is physically able to teach. They are not feeling ill, so they are able to teach. We have assigned instructional assistants to serve as more or less a proctor in the classroom, allowing the teacher to provide the instruction and the instructional assistant as a proctor to guide the students while they're there learning in the classroom. Another group that I mentioned and want to speak a little bit more about this evening is our bus drivers. So within those 3 areas, we have experienced what I would intentionally describe as some significant staffing shortages. So Anna, if you move on to the next slide, what we did here was we just took a look at our teacher staffing, teachers. We've 3 slides tonight, that's it. So we won't keep you for a long time. But looking at the week of November 9th and the week of November 16th, which took us up to last week. So you can see an increase there, moving from a total of 111 absences to 124. Now, of course, that does not mean that we had 124 teachers out all on the same day. But there were people who would have been out for a week. There were people who were out for both of those weeks. There may have been someone out for 1 day. To us, the reason that someone is out is not significant for the point that we're trying to make this evening. The point that we're trying to show you this evening is the number of absences that we are experiencing, but most important, the number that we cannot fill. So the week of November 9th, we were unable to fill 46 absences across our district, and they were teacher absences. The week of November 16th, we were unable to fill 59 of the absences. The total number of absences does not include here those teachers who are quarantining and teaching from home, because technically they are not absent. So they are not putting in into this system identifying as a day out. They are teaching. So we're not even including all of those individuals in there as well. The people that are helping us with that, on the next slide, you'll see instructional assistants going into those classrooms and look at those unfilled absences. And this is a little bit of what Mrs. McGilvery was talking about last week. In terms of trying to piece things together. So we're taking reading specialists, we're taking teacher of the gifted, we're taking a number of other people and we're using them to fill those gaps in the classrooms. So we went from 55 unfilled absences throughout the entire week of November 9th, and we sustained it. So we're thrilled that it didn't increase, but it also did not decrease. We sustained that number of absences to be 56 unfilled absences. Of equal concern to us is the next slide, and extremely telling. This is transportation. Transportation, we had 13 bus drivers who needed to be out the week of November 9th, and that increased to 44 bus drivers the week of November 16th. We only have about 90 bus drivers. The fact that at least 80% of our bus drivers work part-time is what saved us the week of November 16th. Because as a part-time driver, many of those terrific folks are willing to pick up some extra hours. So the challenge that we would face on a week like last week is if all of the needs occur for the morning runs and our drivers are all out for the morning runs. So we're looking for people who only drive for us in the afternoon to pick up some of those morning runs, or people who only drive for us in the morning to then agree to pick up some of the afternoon runs. And they were able to, piece and cobble together, those vacancies. That is of critical concern to us, as we are already anticipating that even with a short week this week, just from our activity today alone, that we will be very similar to 44, again, even though it's a very short week for us. So when folks talk about the staffing, we need to think beyond the teachers. We need to think about all of the employee groups and the vital role. We are an entire system, and our system cannot function with one employee group alone. Everyone has a vital role to play across the district. So when we're experiencing absences at this rate, and we're doing the best that we can to fill those, our primary reason for the recommendation to you tonight is thinking about the number of people, the additional numbers of people who are going to be quarantining, or because they are a close contact, or the people who will need to be in isolation, and those numbers just continuing to grow over time. Our hope is that by December 9th, we would be able to bring back at minimum our elementary students and our students who require some of the more intensive special education supports. Mr. Feinberg mentioned the information that came out of the governor's office today. We have that attestation form. Our solicitor is taking a look at that form. There's a meeting tomorrow with the Chester County Health Department to look at what role they will have in helping us to interpret that form. So we may need to come back to you and ask the board to ratify at some point in time, but our goal is to sign that form and get that form in, identifying that we intend to have students in our buildings. If you indicate on the form that you intend to have students in your buildings, it can be any combination thereof. So that would not prohibit us when we get to the December 9th time period to say, well, we completed the form indicating no one was in the building. So now we would have to go back and figure out how to remedy that and be able to bring our students in. Indicating that you intend to have students in, it can be very small groups, it could be your youngest learners only. That is entirely up to the district. So we may be coming back if our solicitor advises that we need to do that, particularly because the form, I believe, and I'm not entirely sure, it's only a few hours ago, I believe the form may need to be appended to our health and safety plan. And if that's the case, then we would be bringing that back to you. So that's the additional data that we wanted to provide for you tonight, since we have 2 full weeks of it. And we're hoping that even strengthens the rationale behind why we've made the recommendation that we have.
Thank you, Dr. Reusche.